Hello everyone, my name is Ben from Ben Frank's Wine. You might know me already from Novel Wines or Can Wine Company, but one of the other things I do is run an international drinks consultancy that gives me the greatest privilege to try some of the world's finest and undiscovered wines. In this new web series, I'm going to take you on a journey through some of my favourite wines of the world, and in every video we're going to try something new. With this first series, we're going to start with English wines, and I've got 6 of some of the greatest sparkling wines that you can find in the homegrown soils, and in this video we're going to taste through them. I invite you to learn with me and let me know at home what your favourite sparkling wine is to drink in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, let's try some of this great fizz. Right, before we get stuck into wine number 1, why English sparkling wine? You've probably heard a lot about it. You've also probably heard it touted as some of the best fizz in the world, up there with champagne. Now that's all down to the way this wine is made, which is the traditional method. The traditional method is the same method they use in champagne, where all the second fermentation for sparkling wine happens in a 75 cl bottle. That means, unlike Prosecco or wines like that are done in big, large stainless steel tanks, all of the flavour can develop in a small environment and gives you a lot more complexity in the wine. Often this develops over several years, which means sparkling wine is quite expensive to make, and that means English wine often is not cheap. But what you get in the trade-off is this really nice luxury style with more flavour, more depth and character. And one thing we really do have over champagne is a great typicity of fruit, terroir, and that lovely green kind of freshness in our sparkling wines that make these really lively and memorable. So let's get into wine number 1. We've got the Bride Valley 2018 Blanc de Blancs, which won the Independent English Wine Awards gold medal last year. This is a lovely sparkling wine made from 100% Chardonnay. 2018 was a really good, ripe year, great for English wine in general, and the fizz generally had a really good fruit profile on it. Now, when I taste wine, even sparkling wine, I like to have quite a wide glass. It means you can swirl it round properly, you can get your nose in there, and if you've got a big honker like mine, that's quite useful. And it means you can smell a lot more and get a lot more flavour out of the wine. Those champagne flutes are great when you're out and you're cheersing and you're celebrating a special occasion. But for me, if I'm tasting or I'm just enjoying wine at home, something like this, which is the Jancis Robinson wine glass, is a one-size-fits-all and works really well for any kind of wine that you're going to have on that evening or afternoon, ideally with friends. So we're going to get started with the Bride Valley, and this is all Chardonnay. So Blanc de Blanc means white of white, and in this case the Chardonnay grape variety. When you smell this, it has a really fresh kind of green apple, very citrusy, very bright kind of nose. There's a little bit of creaminess there as well from the lees aging, which is just those yeast cells in there that have been lingering and resting on the bottle before disgorgement, giving it some flavour and a bit more layers. Right, we're going to have a taste now, see what we think. So lovely. This Blanc de Blanc, the best thing about it, makes your mouth water. I've got citrus everywhere. It's kind of very fresh lemon juice. My mouth is really watering. It's going to make it really nice for food pairings like fish and chips, nice luxury classic English pairing, or your fry up or anything with salt. And that's one of the key cheats of food and wine matching. When you've got this lovely acidity and freshness, find some salt with it and it will pair beautifully. Because once you've had that salt and you go back to the wine, it takes the edge of the acidity and it brings out even more fruit. So that lovely kind of Granny Smith apple, that creaminess, that length, that memorability is all going to be accentuated so much further with some nice salty food alongside. Could even be bar snacks like crystal nuts. It's going to be really well with that sort of thing. Now, if you don't know Blanc de Blanc, for me, it's a style of sparkling wine that just needs time. So even this 2018 for me is still young. Could go a few more legs yet before it really develops that slightly honeyed complexity, which is really interesting when you get some older styles of Blanc de Blanc sparkling wine. Bride Valley itself is a name you should all know, and if you don't, look it up, go visit them. This is the Spurrier family vineyard, and it was planted by the late Stephen Spurrier, a bit of a legend in the wine trade. He loves his English wine, he loves his Hungarian wines, but he made a name in wine with the Judgment of Paris, and that's what put Californian wine on the map. So in the Judgment of Paris in the 70s, he put Californian reds up against the kind of Bordeaux reds in Paris, and what happened in the end was California won, and they took the world by storm, and now we have Californian wines all over the place that we can enjoy and savour as well. So if you go and visit the vineyard, you can find the American flag on display, which commemorates his commitment to Californian wines and getting them out there and showing the world how good they can be. But also you can have a walk around the vineyards. The staff there are absolutely lovely. They'll take you around the amphitheatre of vines. You'll feel the cool, fresh breezes that run through the vineyard, keep the air flow through the grapes and lower the disease pressure so that every year they have that lovely ripeness in their fruit. And you get that really nice kind of fresh, very fruit forward style. Lovely Blanc de Blanc. You can pick that up for around £35. And I think that's a really good start. Lovely. Let's go to wine number 2. Okay, so wine number 2 is the Bluestone Classic Cuvée. Now this is coming from Wiltshire, and the name Bluestone is actually taken from the Bluestones in Stonehenge, which is just a stone's throw away from where this vineyard is. Now Bluestone, you might be forgiven for never having tasted wine from Wiltshire before. Don't worry, there's not a huge number of vineyards there, but Bluestone is one of my favourites. It's run by the brothers Nat and Toby McConnell, and they're making some wonderful sparkling wines from their fruit, and at the moment all the wine itself is made and disgorged at Hambledon, which is not too far away. But the Bluestone fruit is something a bit special, because in Wiltshire you've got this mix of clay, you've got chalk, you've got a bit of green sand, and it really lends itself to quite a fruity style of sparkling wine. Now the classic cuvee that they've released from the 2018 vintage is predominantly Chardonnay, but it does have a bit of Pinot Meunier and Pinot Noir inside there as well, so it's a classic blend. And for me this is a really nice fruity, very English style of sparkling. So you give it a little bit of a swirl and open it up a little bit, and when you give this one a sniff, you've got a little bit of riper fruit. We're moving more into red apple, there's a little bit of pastry, there's some lemon there as well, a little bit of biscuit, but really I'm on the kind of apple turnover kind of level here. I've also got a little bit of stone fruits coming through, that kind of peachy, almost melon-like smell, and that's really attractive. It's slightly softer, a bit more aromatic than the Blanc de Blanc. We're going to have a taste now, let's have a try. So here you've still got really vibrant acidity, it's very, very fresh, and you have that nice gentle lemon as well. But then you also have structure and breadth, and that's going to make it a wonderful wine to pair with food. Can take everything from the kind of fried fish stuff that we were talking about with the Bride Valley, but it can then go all the way through things like lamb cutlets, because that beautiful acidity and roundness is going to match the meat but also cut through the fat really, really well. So it's a really nice, very broad kind of experimental sparkling when you come to food pairing. And it's going to go also really well, that kind of chunky, meaty, aubergine kind of vegetable, if you grill it or kind of flame grill it and get that toast on the outside of it as well. So very versatile sparkling, and also, I have to say this for the cheese fans out there, this has got to be one of your #1 cheese pairing sparkling wines. It's going to go with your melted cheese toasties right through to your big cheese ball platter, and it will sing really nicely throughout all of those pairings. Now Bluestone, if you do want to give it a try, the best way is to go to the vineyard, see the farm next door, which has some lovely peacocks and alpacas, but then walk the vines with the tour guides there, because it's a lovely picturesque location looking down into Salisbury Plain. And then you come back to the tasting and you can have a nice glass of sparkling on the balcony as well. Lovely day out. But Bluestone only make 4,500 bottles of their classic and their rosé, so if you are going to go visit or you're going to try a bottle, try and do it there to get the full experience, or you can buy it from Novel Wines if you like as well. But I think this is a really good vintage 2018, as we said with the previous wine, and the classic is showing really well, so give it a try if you can. That's wine number 2, and it's probably going to be your first Wiltshire wine, so you're going to start on a high, and I think you'll love it. Okay, so wine number 3 is from Roebuck Estates. Now we're going to a region in England that you might already associate with English sparkling wine, which is Sussex. Now we have a particularly different style here, which is where the wine, the base wine, before it's been second fermented in the bottle, has actually been partially barrel fermented in Burgundy barriques. Now what that means is you have a slightly gentle oxidative aroma that comes into the wine, and it brings out more biscuit and nut character when you come to lees age it later, because it has that slightly less fruity style. Now Roebuck did quite well with this vintage. They picked up a decanter silver medal, and I'm very excited to taste it. I have had a little try with some friends earlier, but this is the 2016. It's a classic cuvee. It's again blending Pinot Noir, Meunier and the lovely Chardonnay grape, slightly more golden in colour. And when you come to smell this wine, what you have here is more that kind of red apple, dried apple kind of flavour. You've got a little bit of honey, you've got more nutty character in here. I'm thinking kind of kernel almond kind of nut smell. Maybe a bit of hazelnut as well. And then when you come to taste the wine, that oxidation just gives you a fuller, slightly softer body. And that makes it a really nice sparkling wine. Could go with things like baked camembert, white pizzas, creamy pasta dishes, those sorts of more textural matches, whereas this was more about acidity and salt. Here we're moving into texture, and I think it worked really well with those. But it's also going to be quite a nice English sparkling wine to go for if you prefer your reserve blend and non-vintage style champagne, because that also has this nutty, slight oxidative style. But you're still bringing elements of that lovely apple, soft pear character that make it English as well. So you get a little bit of champagne, a little bit of England coming into this Sussex sparkling, and I think it's a very good choice. You can pick it up for about 40 quid, which I think for 2016 is excellent. 16 was a bit of an unusual year. You had a very slow start. Things took a while to get moving. But when the sun came out in mid-July, you had a really long, slow ripening period with lots of sunshine right through to vintage picking. And that meant you had a really solid year. And the people who made great 2016 sparklings did an excellent job indeed of making some fantastic fizz. So if you do see a 2016 English fizz, give it a go, because it's probably going to be pretty damn good. So that is the Roebuck Estates Sussex Classic. Cheers. Okay, so now we're going to go to another region in England that you might already be associating with sparkling wine, which is Kent. So this is from the North Downs in Kent, and it's the Simpsons estate, which is one of my favourite English wine producers. In fact, they make some excellent still wine as well as sparkling wine. Again, this is 100% Chardonnay, but coming from chalkier soils now with great drainage. And what chalk tends to do is give you a slightly more poised acidity. Brings kind of almost an elegance to the green apple fruit and layers it a little bit more. This is called White Cliffs. It's also 2018, so we're back to that really nice ripe English wine vintage. You've got that delightful Chardonnay colour of that really lemony fruit. And if you smell this, the interesting thing here is that all that lemon character has moved into almost a marmalade kind of jelly jam kind of aroma. But then you also have this beautiful fragrant white blossom, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. You have almost a little bit of chalky, coconutty, yogurty kind of lees aging. It's all very kind of elegant and a bit more sensual underneath the nose. When you come to taste this wine, I think the surprising thing on the palate is the depth, it's the richness. The acidity is high, but you have almost blood orange bitter sweetness, you have grapefruit, you have lemon, maybe a bit of herbs as well. You know, really long kind of yogurty, creamy kind of finish on there alongside. And I think Simpsons and this kind of slightly more yellow fruits thing that you might be associating more with Mediterranean sparkling wines like Cava, or even Prosecco or Franciacorta and that sort of thing. Those wines are really fun to just enjoy by the glass, or actually pair with things like Eton Mess or canapes, or that really kind of party wedding kind of sparkling. I think Simpsons does a beautiful job with the branding as well. It's really smart, and I think that's a delicious glass of fizz to enjoy. So big fan of Simpsons. I think quite versatile in the kind of party style. Not quite as gastronomic as things like the delicious Bluestone, but still a really nice celebratory wine that just smells absolutely gorgeous, I think. If you like to smell your wine and you're a Riesling fan, I know you guys love to sniff your wines, This Simpsons Blanc de Blanc is excellent. It's a real sniffer. So give that a go. You can pick this up for about £45, which I think for an excellent Blanc de Blanc from a really good vintage is a steal. So a nice price there. Yeah, there you go. So Kent, obviously very well known for sparkling and for English wine like Chapel Down, and Simpsons doing a really good job of showing that off incredibly well. Okay, let's go to wine number 5. Right, I'm sure you recognise wine 5, and if you're still with me, you obviously love English sparkling wine just as much as I do. So let's dive in and not waste any more time. Let's try this Gusbourne 2019. This is the Brut Reserve. Now 2019 was not quite as warm and lovely as 2018. You had a slightly lower ripeness across, slightly lower yields, but what you do have is a greater level of acidity and still a nice kind of richness on the fruit profile as well. Gusbourne have done an excellent job of really capturing that top of the market with vintage-led sparkling wines, and the Brut Reserve, we're going back to that kind of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Meunier classic blend on here as well. If we take this and we give it a nice long smell, what we have here is almost an interesting mix of smoke, raisin, apple. There's almost a lovely kind of pear note and baked pastry, almost like that kind of slightly glazed, flaky pastry kind of smell as well. You have some depth and some oxidation from a bit of maybe some barrel aging, but you have that lovely kind of older, more mature style coming to the sparkling, giving it a bit of structure on the nose, which is very nice. Almost like orange jam, orange marmalade, really lemon rind, lovely depth, complexity, some candied fruits there. I'm getting quite an interesting mix in. It might be because they blend a bit of fruit between Kent and Sussex, but you have really linear, creamy freshness, bite, that kind of green apple zestiness, alongside a similar kind of grapefruit, bitter, yellow fruit, riper style that you have in the Simpsons. Kind of not necessarily fighting against each other. I still think the 2018 is quite young. The 2019 is quite young. It might mould into something a bit more balanced, but you're getting good elements of both and a nice bit of depth on that. I think nicely chilled, this is going to be gastronomic in a similar way to Bluestone. It's got that savoury mouth coating structure that's going to make it really nice with a whole range of different food and dishes. I'm thinking here of things like pork with crackling, your roast chicken and all your trimmings, like your roast spuds, and your cranberry sauce is going to be beautiful alongside the Gusbourne. Yeah, lovely wine. Again, 45 quid, similar story to the Simpsons. So you do fork out a bit more money, but I think it's a lovely style of sparkling and a good example of what 2019 can do. Right, time for the grand finale, and if you're a sparkling wine aficionado, especially English fizz, you're going to recognise the label immediately. This is Dermot Sugrue's The Trouble with Dreams Brut. Now this is a really exciting wine because I think every single year Dermot, who's a bit of like a celebrity chef's type winemaker in the UK, he makes wines with a lot of character. So if you buy a Sugrue wine, you buy it because Sugrue made it. Some people love the style, some people aren't as much of a fan. They're generally quite oxidative in kind of palate, and they always have a real nice impression of the vintage. So every year you end up with something a little bit different. Now he's very much the winemaker in this. He's bringing fruit in from East Sussex, West Sussex, and for the first time in the 2017 vintage, which is what I've got here, there's a little bit of fruit from the Hampshire vineyard, Jenkin Place as well, which I think adds something a little bit interesting to this fizz. Now 2017 generally wasn't great. I mean, it was cool, it was damp, it was a difficult year for a lot of English vineyards. I know that some sparkling wine producers didn't even bother with their classic fizz. They made demi-secs, or they made something a little bit different to basically take in the lower yields and the lesser quality in some parts of their vineyard, or really showcase a really small yielding plot of fine wine. But Sugrue here has done something very special. If you smell this, you have that really deep yeasty kind of soft, very almost ripe fruit, which coming from a cool wet year is pretty impressive. but I'm getting that kind of marmalade, like smoke element. A little bit of cooked apple, a little bit of pear, maybe some candied citrus as well. It's quite an elegant nose, but there's a lot of stuff going on, which is impressive. And then when you come to taste this wine, that's when the maturity comes in. So you have a really nice layer of honey apple. You've got this creaminess, this custardy kind of element as well. A little bit of smoke. And then the apple is really poised. It's proper Granny Smith apple, but it's pristine and fresh. And the finish is very long and it lingers for a while. And something like this for me needs something pretty indulgent. Whether you're going to go really mature, strong aged cheddar cheese and it will pair with that really nicely, or something a bit indulgent like foie gras. If you eat foie gras, this would be a good fizz with that sort of thing. It's a great kind of foie gras substitute called foie royale that you should look out for as well. That's a really nice thing with sweet wines, but also this kind of rich palette of English sparkling where it's all about the fruit still, but there's more depth and style. I think would go really well. So Sugrue, making very Sugrue style wines. It's 55 quid, so a bit more of a trade up. And I don't necessarily think it's any better than any of the other sparkling wines we've had here, but you certainly get a different style with Sugrue. So there you go, that's 6 delicious English sparkling wines. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and share your favourite English sparkling wine with me. I'd love to hear from you. And then I'll see you along for the next video where we'll be trying some more lovely wines. Cheers!